We've come to our session where we discuss Tigray matters on this week, and our guest is online. We will start with introducing our guest. I will call our guest for this week is Seifesilassie Guangul, and many of you, our followers, knows his analysis on Facebook, and beyond that, who is Seifesilassie Guangul? Therefore, welcome to Radio Mereb.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. As you said, my name is, so it's a little bit confusing. So when you live back home, you use your father's name, and when we live outside of the country, we use our grandfather's name. So Guangul is my grandfather. So my name is Gebremeskel Guangul. So you can call me whatever you want. Yeah, so I am active on Tigray issues on social media, especially since the invasion of Tigray by the Ethiopian regime, by Eritrean forces and the Amhara forces, as well as the United Arab Emirates in Somalia. But apart from that, I am a water resources engineer by profession. I have a vast experience working in the private industry, academic, and public sector as well.
Thank you that you have accepted our invitation in such a short time.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you, Seifa. We can hear you. And thank you for accepting our invitations in such a short notice. And for this week we have come to witness that the European Union have cancelled its Election Observation Commission, which was stated on Monday by the High Representative Giuseppe Pero. And Seifa, what do you think this will indicate with respect to the diplomacy achievements and failures that the Ethiopia has had from the past, and what it is having this time?
I think the decision is a correct one. First of all, there is no election in Ethiopia. We are in the process of coronation. Some guy who came into power through the process of a proper party election, but has a sort of a dream to become a king that his mom sort of forecasted for him. So there is no election. This is a drama. We have been saying this for a long time. And the decision by the European High Commission is the right one. As far as what the implication and the status of Ethiopian diplomacy is concerned, this is so terrible. I think the international community is coming to terms as well as senses of what things we have already known, that Ethiopia is going backward, especially in the past 3 years. As you know, for good or worse, Ethiopia under TPLF, EPRDF has been sort of a power to be reckoned with in the Horn of Africa and in the whole Africa, especially during Meles Zenawi's time. Diplomacy was the forefront, and Ethiopia was one of the sought-after countries in international diplomacy. As you know, Meles has always been invited to G7, G20, and other important international conferences and meetings. But now we are where we are now. We have a country that's sort of crippled. We have understood this from the very beginning, but the international community is starting to realize and come to terms and see what we have already seen in the past 3 years. There is no election in Ethiopia. There is no competition in Ethiopia. All opposition figures are in jail. For instance, if you take leading Oromo opposition figures such as Bakala Garba or Jawar Mohammed are in jail for no apparent or no legal reason, simply because this is a process of elimination, potential opponent. And this person called Abiy Ahmed also started an illegal invasion of Tigray by inviting foreign forces and local militias to eliminate potential adversaries in Tigray. So now I don't know who is political parties that will compete in this election. The field is not even. The country is not at peace. The political atmosphere, the political environment is not conducive. So under these circumstances, there is no way that open and acceptable by international standard election can be conducted. So I think the decision by the European Union is the correct one. But as far as the country is concerned and its status, diplomatic status concerned, this is probably the lowest it has ever been. That's how I characterize it.
I think I would also like to bring in connection to this that recently they have stated they will designate TPLF as a terrorist now. But I will come back to this question later on, Seifa. But in connection to what you have stated before, I would like to bring a question on how your view, you can reflect your view that the new developments in Ethiopia will influence the fightings happening in Tigray against the suppressors. And what developments are being recently seen in Ethiopia, like the demonstrations in Amara region and in most of the country, in fact, and reflecting to the characteristics of the call or government saying Abiy's cabinet in general, what has been being described by Tigray in the past 2 and more than 2 years, in fact. So how do you think this all developments that the world is witnessing day after day, more and more in Ethiopia, can influence the fightings in Tigray? Seifa.
Yeah, I think we first of all we have to understand that as far as Tigray is concerned, most, if not all, most of the Ethiopian people have similar view. They consider Tigray as part of the problem, whether it is Amharas, whether it is Abiy Ahmed or other political players. So whatever happens in Ethiopia, the view of the major protagonists in Ethiopia, I'm not sure it's going to change, because you mentioned the demonstration in Amhara. In Amhara region, that doesn't mean that they have a favorable view of Tigray. You have to keep in mind that. So Tigray is sort of a common denominator to be viewed as sort of threat for power, a threat to their dream of sort of unitary country they are planning to build. So I don't see any. As far as Tigray is concerned, I don't see any major shift on Tigray. The Tigray cause and the Tigray solution is in the hand of Tigray. That Tigray will solve this problem, not depending on what happens in the rest of Ethiopia, but in its own time and in its own interest. So, yes, the country is sort of in turmoil. There is internal struggle for power, internal struggle for domination, but that doesn't mean that we have to rely upon, Tigray doesn't have to rely upon on what happened in the rest of the countries. It's really sad to see Ethiopia sort of descended into chaos. But the Tigray question, the Tigray solution will be resolved by Tigrayans only. Yes, the international community is playing key role, especially we in the diaspora also are playing our part in providing voices to the millions of voiceless Tagaros in Tigray. And our brothers and sisters are doing the hard work. They are fighting to free Tigray. So Tigray's future and Tigray's peace depends only on the people of Tigray abroad and at home. But then we have to push for the international community to act upon its promises and to deliver what they have said, especially on withdrawal of Eritrean troops from Tigray and withdrawal of Amhara troops from Tigray. Other than that, I don't see any direct connection on the future of Tigray and the struggle of Tigray and what's happening in Ethiopia. I think that we have to look at this issue separately because whoever is in Ethiopia, no one has a favorable view of or support the cause of Tigray. I think that's the sad part, but I think that's what we should understand, and we should rely upon on Tigray solution for Tigray on Tigray alone.
Indeed, it will depend on Tigrayans for what to come on the struggles. But Seife, you are one of the advocates on social media and I believe you participate also in the paradiplomacy in your country of residence, and among the many who participate in the social media advocacy and paradiplomacies, it has been seen a division of ideas once saying that the new developments in Amhara, Benishangul, of course Benishangul has been in such situation before, but in Amhara specifically, some says it is to divert the world's attention where Tigrayan diplomats and media advocates have achieved so far, and others say rather it is actually it shows that this government is basic character of lacking to respect human rights, which are in the Ethiopian constitution, and the global has been witnessing in Tigray and Benishangul and other areas. So the Amharas are now being victim of what has been what they have been supporting happening in other areas. So which one of them do you think, or it could be possibly both of them as well?
I believe, so it's going to be speculation, but I believe there is some truth in all arguments you put forward. As you said, first of all, the regime's diplomatic machine has been crippled by the diaspora Tagaro. They don't have any agendas. They try to divert so many times by creating diversion and by creating fake news and other dramas. That's essentially this government is full of drama. But we prevailed in a sense. We successfully managed. When I say we, so all Tagars in every corner of the world. We successfully managed to make the international community focus on Tigray. First of all, because we have the truth. We are not, what we share online, what we discuss online, is not something that we made up. this is based on facts. I remember at the initial stage of this struggle on Twitter and social media, on Facebook, because there was no access to Tigray, like there was no information access or any kind of information that comes out of Tigray. Our push was for the independent media to move into Tigray and report from Tigray. But even then, based on trickle of information we received from Tigray, we were reporting and we were sharing. And as you recall, for example, CNN, the CNN report on Mariam Danglat. Prior to CNN, I believe 6 weeks ago, before CNN reported or made a comprehensive report on the massacre in Mariam Danglat, we have been sharing this news online. So our challenge was to push for international media to move into Tigray and report on the facts. We succeeded on that. So the regime has lost all credibilities now. They have all diplomatic offices, including in Washington, Brussels, and elsewhere, the regime's diplomatic mission has crippled. So we have the upper hand. We have the upper hand because we are discussing truths. We are sharing the actual suffering of the Tigray people, what's happening in Tigray, the atrocities, the rape of children and women, and just atrocities that are unimaginable even to describe, even to process. So now the international community is aware of what's happening in Tigray. They have the data, they have the information. Tigray is being discussed at the White House. Tigray is being discussed in Brussels. Tigray is being discussed at G7 meeting. This was something the regime in Addis Ababa and Asmara never expected to happen. So yes, they will do everything at their disposal to divert the international community from reporting what's happening in Tigray. So that's why I said there is some truth in the drama in Amhara region. Probably they set up, it's possible, set up the demonstration in an effort to divert the international community from focusing and reporting on Tigray. It didn't work. I think we remain focused, and also my advice for our people is still to remain focused. We have a case to make. We have truth on our side. Atrocities and genocide being perpetrated in Tigray by the regime in Addis Ababa, Asmara, and the Amhara militia. So we have to keep reporting on this. But at the same time, we remain cognizant of the fact that the regime will try to create whatever drama is possible for them to divert the attention of the international community away from Tigray. We will focus on Tigray. We will make the international community focus on Tigray. So that's why I believe the two scenarios you presented, there is some likely truth in both. I don't know how much, but I believe there is some validity in both arguments.
It indeed is possible. Both are possibilities provided what Abiy and his cabinet has been doing. They are power hungry, so whoever comes to against the power, they will attack regardless, says one social media activist. It sounds that it could be true, but in this week we have also come to the news across the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation saying that the Ethiopian Minister of Council will designate TPLF along with Oneg Shene as terrorist groups. Seifesilassie, why now, and what will this what kind of political influences will bring, do you think?
Why now? The simple question is desperation. I think the regime is so desperate. If you recall, at the initial stage of the invasion of Tigray, Abiy Ahmed, his defense minister, and other high-level cabinet ministers were saying that this is a law enforcement operation. It won't take more than a week. In fact, Abiy at some point said it will be over in 3 days. I remember his defense minister appeared on, I believe, in Al Jazeera or some Western media, and he said, "Oh, it will be a week or two." On November 28, 2020, Abiy Ahmed officially announced the war was over, and a few months later, he appeared on his parliament and announced that TPLF is like a flower spread into the air. So that means there is no such thing as TPLF anymore. Well, now there is TPLF. They are fighting. They are destroying the invading forces in Tigray. So what do you expect? As they declared TPLF was eliminated. In fact, the chief of staff, Birhanu Jula, at some point said there is no, in fact, any military structured power in Tigray, TPLF structure in Tigray. So they made these bogus claims about the TPLF being defeated, eliminated, being sprayed like flour into the air. Now the international community knows that there is TPLF. There is now, we have to distinguish, by the way, it's called the Tigray Defense Forces, because it doesn't belong to any political party. So Tigray Defense Forces are making concrete military gains. They are causing sustained damage to the regime, to the Shabia invading forces, Amhara invading forces. So that the only thing he can do is declare them terrorists. Well, as I said, why declare them terrorists? Simply because it's an act of desperation. As far as political implication, what's the political implication? As far as Tigray is concerned, it won't have none. Because, as I said, the fate of Tigray from now on doesn't depend on Addis Ababa. The fate of Tigray depends on what happens in Tigray. Whatever puppet regimes they appoint, whatever bogus claims they make, or whatever executive orders they issue on Tigray, we don't accept it. We don't recognize it. Tigray will be free, regardless of what they say, regardless of what they do, regardless of what kind of decree they issue. It won't have any bearing on Tigray. So that's why we have to remain focused. Abiy is the enemy of Tigray. We don't engage with him legally. As I said, and the international observers also mentioned that the reason why they declared TPLF terrorist is because they don't want to sit down and negotiate with TPLF. One of the requirements from the U.S. Department of State, the European Union, and as an international community, including G7, is to have a political lasting solution for Tigray. That means including negotiation of the stakeholders. And that means including TPLF. So sitting down with TPLF it flies in his face, in his claim, in his bogus assertion that the war was over. How can he sit down with TPLF that he claimed to destroy? So it's an act of desperation. But as far as Tigray is concerned, Tigray's fate depends on Tigray. That's it.
Thank you, Seifesilassie, for your time and analysis. You've been listening to Radio Mereb weekly analysis of Tigray in this week. And we will leave you with the rest of Radio Mereb programs. Stay tuned and goodbye for today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, for having me. Have a good day.
قفعي بزيح وزحرني حباسني بعد فدايحني زباصحن قالسيني مبره شما شما يبل كله معري شما شما وعرو تقراي ولادي تجغانو للي كحلفي كله معلت له تدبس له تاريخ تقرأي مسكري وبعلو مسكر وطه مسكر لا لا يا لا لا يا لا لو لا لو لا 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 شما 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 ولا تقرأ عم بسافر كل يوم يا جاكنو تقبل كقصر وقت تقاي أيكم وقاي يسوع تتكفلني ولا تقرأ عم بسافر كل يوم يا جاكنو تقبل كقصر وقت تقاي أيكم وقاي يسوع تتكفلني كم وقاي حبوني عيد شاما شاما نبر كلاتمنا يحبر قفعنا وراروي سلائي غمبر شاما شاما نبر تورينا قدبر كدبس اسمناوي لا تنتك بالسر السكر يحرف تاريخنا زاحل في مرير قرصنا فتخسي برستم سرينا بارنة وجدتو لحانا نسوى أمبر أبعد بونا نسنيو ملدينا نسخمنا قسم زيناتنا نسأل النازين أين احنا ندينا أخي ويانا تقراي نمبي بحالي أنصار وراري وتعالى سي أنت سيتقراي أنت خبرو ماي عدغا هاي هاجر تقراي شما شما نبل لازمنا يبل شما شما نبل وفقنا خبر شما شما نبل تبرينا قد كبر شما شما نبل نتنت كبسر بخلو شنغات انت تعقبوا المدري بالسماي وبالله تزنبوا زبك وزبك دخموا وخلطوا قدم يحبوني أنت مالي أتاتي قفعني وراراي وعيتم زبودي لا يبويني ورسالة جنوبات تبري ونعين سلعات ومات ويانا تقراي أمبي بحالي أنصار وراري وتعالى سي أنت سيتقراي أنت خبرو ماي عدغا هاي هاجر تقراي شما شما نبل لازمنا يبل شما شما نبل وفقنا خبر شما شما نبل تبرينا قد كبر شما شما نبل نتنت كبسر بخلو شنغات انت تعقبوا المدري بالسماي وبالله تزنبوا زبك وزبك دخموا وخلطوا قدم يحبوني أنت ماري أتاتي قفعني وراراي وعيتم زبودي لا يبويني ورسالة جنوبات تبري ونعين سلعات ومات